Isis and Thoth stand at the heart of Egyptian myth, two figures whose bond shaped the rhythm of civilization. Isis, radiant and enduring, was more than a mother and queen. She was a seeker of hidden truths, a goddess who embodied devotion and magic. Thoth, the ibis-headed scribe, was more than a recorder of words. He was the architect of wisdom, the one who measured the heavens, wrote the laws of existence, and guarded the secrets of creation. Together, they formed a sacred partnership that carried knowledge from the divine into the human world. Their story is not simply a tale of gods and rituals, but a journey into the hidden wisdom that shaped temples, guided priests, and echoed across centuries. Isis learned from Thoth the language of the gods, the names that shaped reality, the spells that could heal or resurrect, and the wisdom that could guide souls beyond death. She became the living embodiment of divine magic, the bridge between mortals and eternity. This transmission of wisdom was not about power, but about preservation. Thoth understood that knowledge, if misused, could bring chaos, and so he entrusted it only to those prepared to wield it with care. Isis was the perfect vessel, devoted, patient, and relentless in her pursuit of truth. Through her, the teachings of Thoth became living practice, woven into rituals, chants, and symbols that carried meaning far beyond their surface. If you love mythology and history from all cultures and forbidden ancient stories, subscribe, because this channel reveals the secrets behind every myth. Now, before we drift deeper into the sands of time, let me ask, in a sleepy, humorous way, where are you watching from tonight? Isis was one of the most beloved figures in Egyptian belief, a goddess whose presence touched every layer of society. She was revered not only as the devoted wife of Osiris and the mother of Horus, but also as the embodiment of magic, healing, and protection. Her image was carved into temple walls, painted onto coffins, and invoked in prayers that stretched across centuries, making her a living symbol of devotion and resilience. Her story was one of persistence. When Osiris was slain and his body scattered across the land, Isis searched tirelessly, gathering each fragment and restoring him through her knowledge and power. This act was more than myth. It was a ritual of cosmic order, showing that love and wisdom together could overcome chaos. She became the goddess who refused to surrender, the one who demonstrated that balance could be restored even in the face of destruction. Isis was known as Great of Magic, a title that reflected her mastery of hidden wisdom. She understood the secret names of gods, the chants that shaped reality, and the spells that healed the sick and protected the dead. Much of this knowledge was passed to her by Thoth, the divine scribe, who taught her the language of the gods and the mysteries of creation. Temples dedicated to Isis were centers of ritual and learning. Farmers prayed to her for fertile fields, mothers for protection of their children, and rulers for legitimacy of their reign. Her wings, often depicted outstretched, symbolized shelter and safety, reminding worshippers that Isis was both cosmic and personal, both divine and maternal. Her influence spread far beyond Egypt. In Greece and Rome, Isis was worshipped as a goddess of mystery. Her cult adapted to new lands and languages. Sailors prayed to her for safe voyages. Philosophers admired her wisdom, and ordinary people found comfort in her rituals. Even as empires rose and fell, Isis endured. Her name carried into new traditions, her wisdom preserved in hidden texts. There is a quiet humor in imagining Isis the goddess of cosmic magic, invoked for everything from royal legitimacy to household chores. The eternal goddess whispered of eternity, while mortals asked her to help with harvests or daily tasks. Yet this accessibility was her strength. She was a goddess who cared for both the grand and the ordinary. Isis was not confined to myth, but lived in the rhythm of Egypt itself. She was the seeker, the healer, the protector, the one who carried Thoth's wisdom into the human world, ensuring that the secrets of the gods were never lost but preserved in devotion and love. Thoth was not simply a god with the head of an ibis. He was the mind of Egypt, the scribe of eternity, the one who measured the heavens and recorded the laws that governed existence. To the Egyptians, he was the embodiment of wisdom, the guardian of balance, and the keeper of divine knowledge. His role was not ornamental, but essential, for without Thoth, the cosmos itself would lack order. He was credited with inventing writing, giving humanity the gift of recording thought and preserving memory. Hieroglyphs were not just symbols, but sacred channels, each stroke carrying meaning beyond its surface. Through Thoth, words became bridges between mortals and gods, tools for ritual, spells, and the preservation of history. He was the one who taught priests to inscribe prayers on temple walls, ensuring that the rhythm of devotion would echo long after voices fell silent. Thoth's wisdom extended beyond writing. He was the master of time, calculating the movements of the stars, aligning calendars with the rising of Sirius, and guiding farmers to plant and harvest in harmony with the Nile's floods. He was the mathematician of the divine, the astronomer of eternity, the one who ensured that chaos did not overwhelm order. His knowledge was not abstract, but practical, shaping the rhythm of daily life as much as the mysteries of the soul. He was also the judge of the dead, standing in the halls of Mat, recording the weight of hearts against the feather of truth. In this role, Thoth was impartial, ensuring that justice was not swayed by power or wealth. His pen was as mighty as any sword, for it determined the fate of souls in the afterlife. There is humor in imagining Thoth, the god of cosmic wisdom, patiently calculating the stars while mortals struggle to calculate their taxes. Yet, this contrast reminds us of his essence. Wisdom is timeless, and order is necessary, whether in the heavens or in human affairs. Thoth was more than a deity. He was the principle of knowledge itself. To understand him is to understand the foundation of Egyptian civilization, the belief that wisdom sustains life, that balance preserves harmony, and that knowledge, when guarded carefully, becomes the bridge between mortals and the divine. Isis did not become the great of magic by chance. Her power was the result of devotion, persistence, and the hidden wisdom she absorbed from Thoth in Egyptian belief. Knowledge was not freely given, but carefully guarded, passed only to those who proved worthy. Isis was such a seeker, relentless in her pursuit of truth, patient in her study, and devoted to using wisdom for restoration rather than destruction. Thoth, the divine scribe, was the keeper of cosmic law, the one who measured the stars and recorded the secrets of creation. To speak in this language was to command existence itself, to heal, to protect, and even to resurrect. Isis learned that names carried power, that to know the hidden name of a god or a spirit was to hold authority over it. Her training was not confined to abstract lessons. She practiced rituals, chants, and spells, weaving Thoth's wisdom into living acts. She learned the rhythms of the Nile, the cycles of the stars, the balance of Mat, and the mysteries of life and death. Each fragment of knowledge became part of her magic, enabling her to restore Osiris, protect Horus, and guide mortals through the trials of existence. The hidden wisdom Isis carried was not meant for all. It was dangerous, for in the wrong hands it could disrupt the balance of the cosmos. She became the guardian of secrets, the goddess who knew what others were forbidden to know, the bridge between divine knowledge and human practice. There is a quiet humor in imagining Isis, radiant and determined, memorizing cosmic truths, while mortals struggle to remember their shopping lists. Yet this contrast highlights her role. She was the goddess who carried wisdom beyond ordinary reach, ensuring that the mysteries of creation were preserved, protected, and applied with care. Isis's learning was not the end, but the beginning. Through her, the wisdom of Thoth became living practice, shaping rituals, guiding priests, and echoing across centuries. She was the student who became the master, the seeker who became the teacher, and the goddess who transformed hidden wisdom into eternal magic. Isis, the goddess of magic and persistence, sought knowledge not for vanity, but for restoration and protection. Thoth, the divine scribe, guarded the laws of the cosmos and measured the rhythm of existence. Together, they formed a partnership that carried divine secrets into the human world, shaping rituals, guiding priests, and preserving balance. Isis was the vessel, the one who embodied what Thoth revealed. She absorbed his teachings, learning the language of the gods, the hidden names of creation, and the chants that could heal or resurrect. Thoth, in turn, trusted her with wisdom that was too powerful to be given freely, knowing that her devotion and patience would safeguard it from misuse. Together, they ensured that ceremonies were not empty gestures, but acts aligned with cosmic law. The chants, the hieroglyphs, the offerings, all carried echoes of their bond, weaving devotion and wisdom into a single rhythm, and determined insists on applying them to the chaos of mortal life. Yet this contrast is precisely what made their bond sacred. Wisdom without devotion is sterile, and devotion without wisdom is blind. The sacred bond between Isis and Thoth was more than myth. It was the foundation of Egyptian belief. It reminded mortals that knowledge must be guided by love, that devotion must be informed by wisdom, and that together these forces preserve the balance of the cosmos. In Egyptian thought, words were not mere sounds, but forces that shaped reality. To speak in the divine tongue was to command existence itself, to heal, to protect, and even to resurrect. This language was the foundation of magic, the hidden rhythm behind chants and spells, the bridge between mortals and eternity. Isis learned that names carried immense power. To know the secret name of a god or a spirit was to hold authority over it, for names were not labels but essences. By speaking them, she could summon, control, or transform. This knowledge made her the great of magic, the goddess who knew what others were forbidden to know. The language of the gods was not written in ordinary hieroglyphs, but hidden in symbols layered with meaning. Each sign carried echoes of creation. Each chant resonated with cosmic law. Priests who served Isis and Thoth studied these words carefully, reciting them in temples, inscribing them on walls, and whispering them over the dead to guide souls into the afterlife. The rituals were not empty gestures. They were acts of alignment, bringing human life into harmony with divine order. There is a quiet humor in imagining mortals struggling to pronounce these sacred words correctly. while Isis, radiant and patient, spoke them with perfect rhythm. Through the language of the gods, Isis became more than a goddess of devotion. She became the living embodiment of divine speech. Her mastery of hidden words allowed her to heal, to protect, and to restore, ensuring that the wisdom of Thoth was not lost but carried into practice. The language was both shield and key, a sacred gift that preserved the balance of the cosmos and reminded mortals that words, when spoken with knowledge, hold the power to shape eternity. In the world of ancient Egypt, magic was not seen as superstition but as a natural extension of divine law. Words themselves carried power, and when spoken with knowledge, they became forces that shaped reality. Isis, having absorbed the wisdom of Thoth, understood this truth more deeply than any other. She knew that language was not simply communication, but creation, that a chant could heal, a name could command, and a spell could restore balance where chaos threatened. Thoth had taught her that every word echoed with cosmic rhythm. To speak was to align with the laws of existence, and to misuse words was to disrupt harmony. Isis mastered this principle, weaving words into rituals that protected the living and guided the dead. Her magic was not random but precise, built on the foundation of divine knowledge. She became the goddess who could summon forces, bind spirits, and even resurrect Osiris, all through the careful use of words. Priests who served Isis carried fragments of this wisdom, reciting chants in temples, inscribing hieroglyphs on walls, and whispering prayers over the dead. Each ritual was a reminder that words were more than sounds. They were bridges between mortals and gods. The hieroglyphs themselves were sacred, each symbol a vessel of meaning, each inscription a spell that preserved truth across centuries. There is a quiet humor in imagining mortals fumbling through chants, hoping their pronunciation was correct, while Isis spoke with flawless rhythm, commanding the cosmos with ease. Yet this contrast highlights the essence of her power. Magic was not about theatrics, but about knowledge, devotion, and precision. Through Isis, the Egyptians saw that words were tools of creation, that language itself was divine. Her mastery of magic and words made her the protector of balance, the healer of wounds, and the guardian of secrets. She reminded mortals that power does not always lie in weapons or armies, but in the quiet strength of a spoken word, carefully aligned with the eternal laws of the universe. In Egyptian belief, names were not simple identifiers, but living forces. To know the true name of a god, a spirit, or even a star was to hold authority over it. 4 names were woven into the very fabric of existence. Thoth, as the keeper of divine knowledge, understood that creation was spoken into being. Every element of the cosmos had a name, and those names were keys to its power. Isis absorbed this wisdom, becoming the goddess who knew what others were forbidden to know. Her mastery of secret names allowed her to summon forces, heal the sick, and even restore Osiris from death. She did not wield brute strength, but the subtle authority of words, spoken with precision and devotion. Priests who served Isis and Thoth carried fragments of this tradition. In temples, they recited chants that invoked hidden names, aligning their rituals with cosmic law. Hieroglyphs carved into stone were more than decoration. They were spells, each symbol a vessel of divine essence. The rituals of Egypt were built on this foundation, reminding mortals that creation itself was sustained by language. The story of Isis learning the secret names of creation also carried a warning. Knowledge of such power was dangerous, for in the wrong hands it could disrupt balance and invite chaos. This is why Thoth entrusted it only to Isis, knowing her devotion would safeguard it. She became the guardian of forbidden wisdom, the goddess who held the keys to creation but used them with care. There is a quiet humor in imagining mortals struggling to remember the names of their neighbors, while Isis spoke the hidden names of gods and stars. Yet this contrast highlights her role. She was the goddess who carried wisdom beyond ordinary reach, ensuring that the secrets of creation were preserved, protected, and applied with purpose. Through the secret names of creation, Isis became more than a figure of myth. She became the living embodiment of divine authority. Her knowledge reminded mortals that words are not empty sounds, but forces that shape reality, and that to speak with wisdom is to touch the very essence of eternity. The power of Isis was never more evident than in her mastery of resurrection, a knowledge that set her apart from all other deities. When Osiris was slain and his body scattered across the land, it was Isis who refused to surrender to despair. Guided by devotion and the wisdom she had learned from Thoth, she searched tirelessly, gathering each fragment of her beloved. With chants that echoed the rhythm of creation and spells that aligned with cosmic law, she restored Osiris, breathing life back into what had been broken. This act was more than myth. It was the foundation of Egyptian funerary practice. The resurrection of Osiris became the model for rituals performed over the dead, where priests invoked Isis's words to guide souls into the afterlife. Her chants were whispered over coffins, her name inscribed on tomb walls, her presence invoked to ensure that death was not an end but a passage. Through Isis, resurrection was transformed from divine miracle into ritual tradition, a promise that life could be renewed. Her knowledge of resurrection was not brute force, but precise wisdom. She understood that life and death were part of a cycle, that balance must be preserved, and that resurrection was not about defying mortality, but about restoring harmony. In this way, Isis became the goddess who bridged the mortal and the eternal, ensuring that the secrets of renewal were preserved for generations. There is a quiet humor in imagining mortals asking Isis to heal everyday ailments while she carried the knowledge to resurrect gods. Yet this contrast reveals her essence. She cared for both the ordinary and the eternal, offering comfort in daily struggles while holding the keys to cosmic mysteries. Isis's resurrection knowledge was a gift of hope. It reminded mortals that love and devotion could overcome despair, that wisdom could restore what was lost, and that death itself could be transformed into continuity. Through her, the Egyptians saw that the rhythm of life was eternal, carried forward by devotion, preserved by wisdom, and renewed by the goddess who refused to let chaos have the final word. Thoth, the divine scribe, was more than a recorder of words. He was the architect of wisdom, the one who measured existence and revealed the laws that governed both life and death. His teachings carried the weight of cosmic balance, reminding mortals that the journey of the soul was not random, but guided by order, justice, and truth. To understand Thoth was to understand that life was a preparation and death was a passage, both woven into the eternal rhythm of the universe. In life, Thoth taught the importance of harmony. He was the god who calculated the movements of the stars, aligned calendars with the rising of Sirius, and ensured that the Nile's floods were measured with precision. His wisdom guided farmers, rulers, and priests, showing them that survival depended on balance with nature and respect for cosmic law. To live well was to live in accordance with Mat, the principle of truth and order. And Thoth was the guardian of that principle. In death, Thoth's role became even more profound. He stood in the halls of judgment, recording the weight of hearts against the feather of Mat. His pen was impartial, ensuring that justice was not swayed by wealth or power. Souls who lived in truth passed into eternity, while those burdened by falsehood faced dissolution. Thoth's teachings reminded mortals that death was not an end but a test, a moment when the truth of one's life was revealed. His wisdom also extended to the mysteries of resurrection. This teaching was not about defying mortality, but about preserving balance, ensuring that the cycle of existence continued without chaos. There is a quiet humor in imagining Thoth, the god of cosmic law, patiently calculating the stars, while mortals struggle to calculate their daily expenses. Yet this contrast highlights his essence. Wisdom is timeless, and order is necessary, whether in the heavens or in human affairs. Thoth's teachings on life and death were not confined to myth, but lived in the rhythm of Egypt itself. They reminded mortals that existence was sacred, that truth was eternal, and that the journey of the soul was guided by knowledge, balance, and the impartial hand of the divine scribe. In the temples of Egypt, wisdom was not freely shared with all. Much of it was guarded, hidden behind rituals and secrecy, entrusted only to the priests who served Isis, Thoth, and the other gods. This forbidden knowledge was considered too powerful, too dangerous, to be placed in the hands of ordinary mortals. It was knowledge of creation, of resurrection, of the language of the gods, and of the hidden names that shaped reality. To misuse it would invite chaos, and so it was carefully preserved, passed only to those deemed worthy. The priests were custodians of this wisdom. They memorized chants that aligned with cosmic law, inscribed hieroglyphs that carried divine essence, and performed rituals that echoed the mysteries of Isis and Thoth. Their training was long and demanding, requiring discipline, devotion, and secrecy. To be initiated into the deeper mysteries was to carry a burden, for the knowledge they held was not for personal gain, but for the preservation of balance. Forbidden knowledge included spells of healing and resurrection, formulas that could summon divine forces, and instructions for guiding souls through the afterlife. It also encompassed astronomy, mathematics, and medicine, all tied to the rhythms of the cosmos. The priests understood that the stars were not distant lights, but markers of time, that numbers were not abstractions, but reflections of order, and that medicine was not only physical, but spiritual. Legends warned of those who sought this knowledge without devotion. To steal the secrets of the priests was to risk madness or destruction, for wisdom without discipline could unravel the harmony of the world. This is why the Book of Thoth, said to contain the ultimate truths, was hidden, protected by rituals and curses, entrusted only to the worthy. There is a quiet humor in imagining ordinary mortals hoping to peek behind temple walls, dreaming of forbidden spells, while the priests themselves knew that such knowledge was not about curiosity but responsibility. The secrets were not locked away to deny mortals, but to protect them, ensuring that wisdom remained a force of preservation rather than chaos. The forbidden knowledge of the priests reminds us that wisdom is sacred, that truth must be guarded, and that devotion is the key to unlocking mysteries. The wisdom of Isis and Thoth was never meant to be freely scattered among mortals. In Egyptian belief, Knowledge was sacred, a force as powerful as the Nile itself, and if misused, it could bring chaos instead of harmony. This is why so much of their teaching was hidden, preserved only in temples, entrusted to priests, and guarded by rituals that ensured it would not fall into careless hands. The danger lay in the nature of the knowledge itself. Spells of resurrection, chants that commanded spirits, and formulas that aligned with cosmic law were not tools for curiosity, but instruments of balance. To speak the secret names of creation without devotion was to risk unraveling the order of the universe. Thoth, as the divine scribe, understood this, and Isis, as the devoted seeker, carried the burden of protecting it. Together, they ensured that wisdom was preserved but veiled, available only to those who sought it with discipline and care. The priests became guardians of this hidden knowledge. Their training was long and demanding, requiring silence, devotion, and secrecy. They memorized chants, inscribed hieroglyphs, and performed rituals that echoed the mysteries of Isis and Thoth. Yet they did not reveal everything, for the deeper truths were forbidden, locked away to protect mortals from their own recklessness. There is a quiet humor in imagining ordinary people hoping to stumble upon cosmic secrets, while the gods themselves knew that such wisdom was not about possession, but responsibility. The hidden knowledge was not denied to mortals out of cruelty, but preserved for their safety, ensuring that balance remained intact. The secrecy surrounding this wisdom reminds us that knowledge is not always meant to be shared openly. Some truths are too powerful, too delicate, to be placed in careless hands. By hiding it, Isis and Thoth ensured that the mysteries of creation would endure, waiting for those who sought not power but harmony, not chaos but balance. In this way, the hidden knowledge became a sacred trust, preserved in silence, carried forward by devotion, and protected by the guardians of eternity. Among the most mysterious treasures of Egyptian lore is the legendary Book of Thoth, a text said to contain the very secrets of the universe. It was not an ordinary book, but a collection of divine wisdom, guarded carefully because its knowledge was too powerful to be given freely. Within its pages were spells that could command the elements, words that could speak to the gods, and formulas that could open the gates of the afterlife. To possess it was to hold the keys to creation itself. Thoth, the divine scribe, was believed to have written this book, inscribing the laws of existence with precision and care. He recorded the movements of the stars, the cycles of the Nile, the balance of Mat, and the mysteries of life and death. The Book of Thoth was said to contain instructions for healing, resurrection, and communication with the divine. It was the ultimate repository of wisdom, a text that bridged the mortal and the eternal. Isis, as the devoted seeker, absorbed fragments of this knowledge. Through Thoth's guidance, she learned the sacred language, the hidden names, and the spells that restored Osiris. Her mastery of magic was drawn from the teachings preserved in this mythical book, making her the living embodiment of its wisdom. Priests and scribes who served in temples carried echoes of its teachings, inscribing hieroglyphs that preserved fragments of divine truth, ensuring that the rhythm of Thoth's wisdom continued across generations. The Book of Thoth was also a symbol of danger. Legends warned that those who misused its knowledge would unleash chaos, disturbing the balance of the cosmos. This is why it was hidden, entrusted only to the worthy, and protected by rituals that ensured its secrets remained veiled. It was not a text for curiosity, but for devotion, a reminder that wisdom must be preserved with care. There is a quiet humor in imagining mortals dreaming of finding the Book of Thoth, hoping to master its secrets, while Isis and Thoth themselves knew that such wisdom was not about possession, but about responsibility. The book was not a prize, but a burden, a sacred trust that demanded devotion and balance. The Book of Thoth remains one of the great mysteries of Egyptian tradition. Whether real or symbolic, it represents the belief that knowledge is divine, that wisdom shapes reality, and that the secrets of creation are preserved not in ordinary words, but in sacred truths, guarded by gods and entrusted only to those who seek with devotion. Isis was not only a goddess of devotion and healing, she was celebrated as the very first magician, the one who transformed divine wisdom into living practice. Her mastery of spells, chants, and rituals made her the embodiment of magic itself, a figure who showed mortals that words and devotion could shape reality. Through her, the hidden teachings of Thoth became more than knowledge. They became power, carefully wielded to preserve balance and restore harmony. Her role as the first magician was revealed most clearly in the resurrection of Osiris, by gathering his scattered body and speaking the sacred words. Isis demonstrated that magic was not illusion, but divine law in action. She became the goddess who could heal, protect, and even conquer death, proving that devotion combined with wisdom could overcome chaos. This act set the foundation for Egyptian funerary rituals, where priests invoked her spells to guide souls into the afterlife. Isis's magic was not limited to resurrection. She was invoked in daily life for protection, fertility, and healing. Farmers prayed to her for fertile fields, mothers for the safety of their children, and rulers for legitimacy of their reign. Her wings, often depicted outstretched, symbolized shelter and safety, reminding worshippers that Isis's magic was both cosmic and personal. What made her unique was that she did not hoard this power, but shared it through rituals and teachings. Priests carried fragments of her wisdom, inscribing chants on temple walls and whispering prayers over the sick and the dead. Yet the deepest secrets remained with her, guarded carefully, ensuring that magic was preserved but never misused. There is a quiet humor in imagining Isis, the goddess of cosmic magic, invoked for everything from royal legitimacy to household chores. Yet this accessibility was her strength. She was both eternal and everyday, the goddess who cared for the grand and the ordinary alike. As the first magician, Isis became the living bridge between mortals and the divine. Her mastery of hidden wisdom showed that magic was not trickery but truth, not spectacle but devotion. She was the goddess who proved that love, knowledge, and words together could shape eternity. The wisdom of Isis and Thoth was not preserved in silence alone. It lived through sacred rituals and spells that carried their power into the daily rhythm of Egypt. These rituals were more than ceremonies. They were acts of alignment, designed to bring mortals into harmony with cosmic law. Every chant, every gesture, every offering echoed the bond between devotion and wisdom, reminding worshippers that the gods were present in both the grand and the ordinary. Isis was invoked in countless rituals. Her spells of protection were whispered over children, her chants of healing recited for the sick, and her wings symbolically spread over the dead to guide them into the afterlife. She was the goddess who cared for households as much as kingdoms, ensuring that her magic touched every corner of life. Priests carried her words into temples, inscribing them on walls and coffins, preserving her presence across centuries. Thoth's role was equally vital. He was the guardian of precision, ensuring that rituals were performed correctly, that chants followed the rhythm of cosmic law, and that offerings aligned with the balance of Mat. His wisdom gave structure to devotion, transforming ceremonies into acts of truth. Without Thoth, rituals risked becoming empty gestures. With him, they became bridges between mortals and eternity. The spells themselves were layered with meaning. Some invoked fertility, ensuring the Nile's floods brought abundance. Others guided souls through judgment, protecting them as they faced the weighing of the heart. Still others called upon divine forces for protection against chaos. Each spell was a fragment of hidden wisdom, a reminder that words carried power when spoken with devotion and knowledge. There is a quiet humor in imagining mortals fumbling through chants, hoping their pronunciation was correct, while Isis and Thoth listened patiently, knowing that intention mattered as much as precision. Yet this contrast reveals the essence of ritual. It was not about perfection, but about devotion, the act of aligning human life with divine rhythm. Through sacred rituals and spells, the wisdom of Isis and Thoth endured. They became living traditions, carried forward by priests and worshippers, ensuring that the secrets of the gods were not lost, but preserved in practice. In every chant and offering, Egypt remembered that magic was not illusion, but truth, not spectacle, but devotion, a sacred rhythm that bound mortals to eternity. The wisdom of Thoth did not end with Egypt. Legends tell that his teachings were carried forward into what later became known as the Emerald Tablets, mysterious writings said to preserve the essence of cosmic law. These tablets, attributed to Thoth in his aspect as Hermes Trismegistus, were believed to contain the secrets of alchemy, the unity of spirit and matter, and the eternal rhythm of life and death. The connection between Isis and the Emerald Tablets lies in the transmission of hidden wisdom. Isis, as the first magician, absorbed Thoth's teachings in Egypt, the language of the gods, the secret names of creation, and the spells of resurrection. The Emerald Tablets represent the continuation of this tradition, a bridge between Egyptian mystery and later mystical thought. They carried the same message, that knowledge is divine, that truth is eternal, and that balance must be preserved. The tablets spoke of transformation, the idea that matter could be refined, that spirit could ascend, and that death itself was not an end but a passage. These teachings echoed Isis's role in resurrecting Osiris, showing that devotion and wisdom together could overcome chaos. Just as Isis embodied the living practice of Thoth's knowledge, the Emerald Tablets embodied its written form, ensuring that the secrets of creation would endure across cultures and centuries. Priests and philosophers who studied these teachings saw them not as mere texts, but as living wisdom. They believed the tablets revealed the unity of all things, the principle that the heavens and the earth reflected one another, and that to understand this unity was to hold the key to transformation. This mirrored the Egyptian belief that rituals aligned mortals with cosmic law, preserving harmony between the divine and the human. There is a quiet humor in imagining mortals dreaming of turning lead into gold, while Thoth and Isis knew that the true alchemy was the transformation of the soul. The Emerald Tablets were not about wealth, but about wisdom, not about possession, but about balance. Through the Emerald Tablets, the legacy of Isis and Thoth extended beyond Egypt, influencing Greek, Roman, and later mystical traditions. They remind us that hidden wisdom is timeless, that the secrets of creation are preserved in symbols and words, and that the bond between devotion and knowledge continues to echo across the ages. The wings of Isis are among the most enduring symbols of Egyptian art and belief. Spread wide across temple walls, coffins, and amulets, they were not mere decoration, but powerful emblems of protection, renewal, and divine presence. To the Egyptians, Isis's wings represented the shelter of the goddess, a reminder that she guarded both mortals and gods, embracing them in her eternal devotion. Her wings were often shown outstretched over the dead, guiding souls safely into the afterlife. In this role, Isis became the guardian of transition, ensuring that death was not chaos, but passage. The wings symbolized comfort, wrapping the departed in divine care, while also invoking resurrection, echoing her role in restoring Osiris. They were not only protective, but transformative, carrying the soul from mortality into eternity. In daily life, the wings of Isis symbolized healing and safety. Mothers prayed for her wings to shield their children. Rulers invoked them for legitimacy, and farmers saw them as signs of fertility and abundance. The wings were a universal image, reminding worshippers that Isis was both cosmic and personal, both eternal and everyday. The symbolism also carried deeper meaning. Wings are instruments of flight, of transcendence, of rising beyond earthly limits. For Isis, they represented her ability to move between worlds, mortal and divine, life and death, chaos and harmony. Her wings were the bridge, the reminder that devotion and wisdom together could lift mortals into alignment with cosmic law. There is a quiet humor in imagining mortals picturing Isis's wings as literal feathers, while the goddess herself embodied them as forces of protection and transformation. Yet this contrast highlights their essence. They were not physical, but symbolic, a visual language that carried divine truth. The wings of Isis remain one of the most powerful symbols of Egyptian tradition. They remind us that protection is sacred, that renewal is possible, and that love and wisdom together can lift the soul beyond despair. Through her wings, Isis became not only the goddess of magic, but the eternal guardian, sheltering mortals under the embrace of eternity. Not all wisdom was meant for mortal hands. In Egyptian tradition, the teachings of Isis and Thoth carried truths so powerful that they were hidden, preserved only for the gods and their chosen guardians. These secrets were not denied out of cruelty, but protected out of necessity, for to misuse them would invite chaos into the world. Among the forbidden knowledge were the secret names of creation, words that could command divine forces, and spells that could alter the rhythm of life and death. To know them was to hold authority over existence itself. Thoth, as the divine scribe, understood the danger of such power, and Isis, though entrusted with fragments, carried the burden of guarding them. Their wisdom was preserved in silence, passed only to priests who proved worthy through devotion and discipline. The hidden truths also included mysteries of the afterlife, the precise formulas for guiding souls, the chants that opened the gates of eternity, and the knowledge of resurrection itself. These were not meant for casual use, for in the wrong hands they could disrupt the balance of the principle of truth and order. To protect mortals, the gods veiled these teachings, ensuring that only fragments reached human practice. There is a quiet humor in imagining mortals dreaming of unlocking cosmic secrets, while the gods themselves knew that such knowledge was not about curiosity, but responsibility. The hidden wisdom was not a prize to be seized, but a burden to be carried, demanding devotion, patience, and balance. What humans were not meant to know reminds us that wisdom is sacred, that truth must be guarded, and that some mysteries are too vast to be contained in mortal understanding. By veiling these secrets, Isis and Thoth ensured that the cosmos remained in harmony, preserving the rhythm of creation while leaving mortals with enough knowledge to live, worship, and hope, but never enough to unravel eternity itself. The wisdom of Isis and Thoth was too sacred to vanish, and though much of it was hidden, fragments endured across centuries, carried forward in rituals, symbols, and stories. Egypt itself became the vessel of preservation, its temples, hieroglyphs, and funerary practices serving as living archives of divine truth. Even as dynasties rose and fell, the essence of this knowledge remained, woven into the daily rhythm of worship and the eternal cycle of life and death. Priests were the first guardians of survival. Through chants, inscriptions, and ceremonies, they ensured that the teachings of Isis and Thoth were not forgotten. Hieroglyphs carved into stone preserved fragments of cosmic law, while papyrus scrolls carried spells and rituals into the hands of initiates. These texts were not mere records, but living echoes of divine wisdom, designed to endure beyond the frailty of human memory. The myths themselves became vessels of survival. The story of Isis resurrecting Osiris, of Thoth weighing the hearts of the dead, and of the secret names of creation were retold generation after generation. Each retelling preserved the essence of the hidden wisdom, ensuring that even when temples crumbled, the stories carried the truth forward. As Egypt's influence spread, fragments of this knowledge traveled into other cultures. The Greeks saw Thoth as Hermes Trismegistus, linking Egyptian wisdom to their own philosophy. The emerald tablets, attributed to him, carried echoes of the same truths: transformation, unity, and balance. Through this blending, the wisdom of Isis and Thoth survived not only in Egypt, but across the Mediterranean world, influencing mysticism, alchemy, and philosophy for centuries. There is a quiet humor in imagining mortals believing they had uncovered new truths, while in reality they were rediscovering fragments of Isis and Thoth's ancient wisdom. The knowledge was never lost. It simply wore new names, new symbols, and new languages as time unfolded. The survival of this knowledge reminds us that truth is eternal. Though temples may fall and scrolls may fade, wisdom endures in ritual, story, and symbol. Through Isis and Thoth, the secrets of creation were preserved, carried across ages, waiting for seekers who approach not with greed but with devotion, not with curiosity alone, but with reverence for the balance of the cosmos. The journey through the mysteries of Isis and Thoth reveals a truth that transcends time. Wisdom is eternal, and devotion is the key to unlocking it. Isis, as the first magician, showed that love and knowledge together could overcome despair, heal wounds, and even conquer death. Thoth, as the divine scribe, reminded mortals that life and death are not opposites, but parts of a greater rhythm, guided by balance and truth. The sacred rituals, the hidden names, the forbidden knowledge, and the wings of Isis all point to one lesson: that wisdom is not meant for possession, but for preservation. It is a trust, a sacred rhythm carried forward through stories, symbols, and rituals, waiting for those who seek it with reverence. Isis's eternal wisdom lies in her devotion. She did not wield power for domination, but for restoration, ensuring that chaos never had the final word. Her magic was not spectacle, but truth, not illusion, but alignment with the laws of creation. Through her, mortals learned that words, when spoken with care, could heal, protect, and guide souls into eternity. Thoth's eternal wisdom lies in his precision. He measured the stars, recorded the truth, and ensured that justice was impartial. His teachings remind us that knowledge without balance is dangerous, but knowledge with devotion is divine. Together, Isis and Thoth embody the eternal wisdom of Egypt, a wisdom that survived dynasties, traveled across cultures, and continues to echo in the myths and philosophies of the world. And now, as the story draws to a close, let us rest in the embrace of Isis's wings, sheltered by her devotion, guided by Thoth's truth. The eternal wisdom of the gods whispers softly, reminding us that balance endures, that love restores, and that truth is timeless. So let the chants fade, the temples grow quiet, and the stars shine above as they always have. The wisdom of Isis remains eternal and patient, waiting for seekers in every age. Good night.